Hello and welcome to the 6th video in my What I'm Planting Today series. My name is Jenna and I am gardening in Midwestern Ohio, Zone 6A, with a last approximate spring frost date of May 10th. Today, April 13th, I'm sitting about 4 weeks out from that last spring frost. And to find your spring frost dates and fall frost dates, just type in your zip code here. With most of the items that I'm planting today, I would typically be planting these out over the whole first 2 weeks of April. But my planting schedule has become rather condensed this year due to unending rain and some bitterly cold nighttime temperatures. So rather than splitting these plantings out between the first and second weeks in April, I'm doing them all now. Today, I continue to plant many of the cool season crops that I've mentioned in prior videos. This includes my root crops like carrots, beets, radishes, and turnips. I continue to direct sow peas, and I just wanted to share, earlier this week we had 2 nights that got down to the low 20s, 20 degrees Fahrenheit the first night and 24 the next. I covered many of my seedlings with frost cloth, but didn't get my peas covered. And look at how well they're doing despite the cold. I continue to plant potatoes, and for those who like to use phenology rather than calendar dates for deciding when to plant, the dandelions have finally started blooming here just a few days ago, which some use as the phenological indicator for planting potatoes. Remember though that potatoes will tend to rot in overly wet soil. So if you're in one of the areas that got tons of rain last week, make sure to let that soil dry out some before planting. I also continue to transplant onions. Typically, I would have all of my onions planted by now, but the rain delayed my planting. So I've got half in the ground already, and the other half will go in today. I'm still transplanting and direct sowing lettuce, as well as direct sowing dill and calendula. Today, I'm also finishing up transplanting all of my brassica starts, including broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, and kohlrabi. Typically, I would aim for planting these in the first week of April, and I actually did get some of these in at the very end of March, as you can see here. But trying to plant the rest of these out with the ground super saturated and such cold nighttime temperatures would serve to cause extra stress on these seedlings. And in many heading brassicas in particular, transplant stress can lead to early bolting or buttoning. So overall, I'm better off waiting a week or so until the temperatures level out a little bit. Typically though, I don't have good results if I plant later than mid-April with broccoli and cauliflower. Though if I must, I can push those planting dates a little later with things like my cabbage, kale, collards, and kohlrabi. Keep in mind also that we have a late summer into fall window for these crops. So if you've missed the planting times in the spring, aim for trying again from seed in July for a fall harvest. I immediately hoop and net these transplants, as I've already seen at least one cabbage white butterfly fluttering around the garden. I'll also likely cover these up with frost cloth at night for the first week or so. While these crops can handle temperatures below freezing, I find that I have better results if I can mitigate those temperature swings as much as possible during these seedlings' first week or 2 in the garden. Today, I begin direct sowing borage as well. This is an herb that will readily self-sow, and many years I have volunteers pop up in the garden and I don't need to plant any. I only have a few volunteers popping up this year, which tells me now is the time to plant. This beautiful blue blooming herb is a bee magnet. The flowers are edible and it's a dynamic accumulator, meaning it's excellent at pulling up nutrients from deep within the soil and can improve soil health over time. Because of this trait, they also make a great chop and drop mulch or addition to the compost pile. Right now is also a great time to plant cool season cover crops, including annual ryegrass, spring oats, winter peas, sweet clover, vetch, and tiller radish. Now for my indoor sowing, I'm only starting 2 things from seed today. First up is my cotton. I stick to very short season varieties here, 120 days or less. Last year I grew red foliated white cotton and it did beautifully. Our season here in Ohio isn't always long and warm enough to allow the cotton bolls to fully open on the plant, but I was able to cut the entire plant in October, hang them in a protected area, and the bolls eventually all opened up. I'm also starting all of my basil today. Basil is a very cold sensitive plant and will suffer foliar damage once temperatures dip below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So I get a nice jump start indoors and typically won't transplant these out until the end of May into the beginning of June. I'll also be starting another round of items from seed indoors in about a week, so be sure to subscribe to my channel, Growfully with Jenna, if you want to catch that update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.